I like that one.
Yeah, you get started, John.
Yeah.
All right, Lars,
Yeah.
we're ready.
All right, we're rolling.
Now, do I look at the camera or look at
I would look at Tron, if that's
Oh,
all right with you.
yeah.
Or would you, well, hang on, let me cut for a second. What do you want him? I mean, what you want him is kind of looking off camera a little bit, right?
A little off camera, right? Not paying too much attention to it. We're just talking.
Yeah, because if you look at my
You might
direction,
want to
it
actually
will
stand
be-
over there because what
Yeah,
you'll
that's
end up
what I
doing
was
is you
gonna
can't
say.
Yeah,
help
John, you get
Yeah,
your
come
ass
here,
over
yeah,
here.
come over here.
it. Yeah, you can't help it. I mean, I've done interviews and it drives me crazy trying to go like that when he's actually
Close the door
standing.
there, so we...
Perfect.
There you go.
Okay.
That'll work better.
I'm gonna go take some one second.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
great.
And come
Now
back
just-
wearing a dress, would you? Like a pink tutu or something?
Okay, what
All
a
right.
pink tutu
Yes,
and
sir.
what color shoes?
Mauve?
Mom? Okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
Oh, you've got that down too well, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Can you see Mark in a pink tutu?
It's tough, man. It'll bring the house down, let me tell you.
Every time. Works every time.
All right, go. We're
All right,
ready
so-
on this side.
Here's how we're going to be doing this. Generally, I'm asking you some pretty open questions.
Where are you going to go after you comb your hair?
I don't know. I'll sit in your lap if you like.
They put a lot of hair product on that. Leave him alone, man.
Yeah, I worked on this thing. Little gooping. Damn, here we go. This is pretty loose. This is just, I'm going to ask you some questions. You can go wherever you want to go. They're not going to hear me or any of us asking questions. So, Tron, if you feel like asking anything,
sure.
you know, if you see something moving in a direction, you'd say like, oh, let's
pick
talk
up.
about
Yeah,
this.
Tron's got a good memory of
Well, Tron's got so much of your background after
Yeah.
everything you talked about. It'd just be great, you know. So, Tron, if you want
Whatever,
to,
yeah, whatever. I never can keep my mouth shut anyway, so I might jump in now. We'll see how it runs.
and even though our questions are going to be on this
Do me a regular,
this
just
tape,
a few
Okay,
seconds.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 6, 7, 3, 2,
We can
1.
peg the fun meter in about 2 seconds.
Happier than 10 hippies. No, higher than 10 hippies.
I can go either way. Higher than 10 hippies, 10 happier.
Yeah, sounds
I
fine.
told you about my train story. We were a
Sounds
couple
fine,
hippies
John,
back
so
then.
you can just go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Bruce. Well, this is this video will be just you, and I think where it'd be a great place to start would just introduce yourself. Hi, I'm Bruce Swedien. I'm in Westviking Studios.
But I
and-
should be looking at John,
All
right?
right,
Yeah.
In his direction. Yeah.
yeah, me or Tron or anywhere up
Around
this
here,
way.
you know.
Yeah.
Hi there. This is Bruce Swedien speaking to you from Westviking Studio, which happens to be my little home away from home. And we're going to talk a bit about ribbon microphones, and more specifically, Royer ribbon microphones, which is my absolute favorite. Ribbon microphones have been kind of in the background for a few years until a guy by the name of Dave Royer designed a new ribbon microphone, and boy, I heard it and absolutely went nuts. It's incredible. And so I'm a big user of Royer ribbons. I would actually ribbon microphones in general, but more specifically Royer ribbons. There are many ribbon mics being made today, but in my estimation, Royer is the best. And I have several of them in my collection, use them on every recording that I do, and I absolutely love them.
Thank you kindly. When did you get started using ribbon microphones? And was it because you had to, or was it what you had access to, or were you?
Right.
Did you like the sound of them?
You can be quiet now. I started using ribbons very early in my career because the RCA ribbon mics, specifically the 44BX, which is a big heavy ribbon mic, tremendously fine quality, and then of course the 77DX, and I still have those original microphones in my collection and use them on every project. They're very mellow. They're a bit fragile. You have to be careful with the ribbon mic, but the sound of a ribbon is, once you get that in your ear on certain sound sources, it's you're a dead duck. You're gonna want to reach for those ribbon mics every time. It's a tremendous microphone.
Can you tell us a bit about your early days using ribbons? Back before Royer, say in the 50s?
I started using ribbon mics long before.
By the way, Bruce, you could. This is the main camera. If you want to talk into the camera, you can talk to either of these guys, or you can just
Okay.
talk to me or Tron or anybody.
Yeah, great. Okay. I started using ribbon mics quite early in my career, which would have been in the 50s, and I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota originally, and most of the recording in studios and equipment in those days was a hand-me-down from the broadcast industry, and particularly the ribbon mics. So I did do some work in broadcast in Minneapolis, and finally ended up purchasing several of my own RCA ribbon mics, and still have them to this day. They're in perfect condition, and they can be a very useful tool in music recording.
What do you like to use them on
Tell
specifically?
those guys to shut up.
Cut just for a second.
Yeah.
Sure.
No, tell them to be quiet.
Yeah,
I
it's
can
probably
hear.
lunch break now or something. Yeah.
Oh.
Some of the early.
Well, you know, we were talking because your focus is on ribbons right now. Maybe your story about Michael Jackson and "Don't Stop Till You Get Enough" and you know some other things you've used ribbons on
Thinking about
specifically.
applications.
Roll
applications.
it.
We're rolling.
Roll
on.
Yes, sir.
One instance where ribbon microphones really played a big part in the sound of a very popular piece of music that I recorded was Michael Jackson's "Don't Stop Till You Get Enough," which begins with all percussion, and it was Michael and his brothers playing glass bottles and metal and anything. It was kind of found percussion. So, however, I began to think about it, and I thought to myself, boy, if I record these percussion instruments with condenser mics, it's going to compromise the overall volume level of this piece of music, because when I get it to the mastering room, those transients are going to be just horrific. They're going to be huge and will make it very difficult to get any real volume level on the master. And so what I thought was, well, why don't I use ribbon mics? And the ribbon mic is probably more like our own hearing system in that it will hear those percussions, but it won't translate the entire steep wavefront of the percussive sound, thereby limiting the volume level that you can put on the recording. So that's one piece of music. If you want an example of me using ribbon mics early in my career, that would be a great one to listen to. Check out Michael Jackson's "Don't Stop Till You Get Enough." And at the end, it fades off into all percussion. And every one of the percussion instruments on that recording is recorded with a ribbon mic.
And in your old days, did you use the ribbon for brass in the big bands, or?
Yeah, actually, that'd be good too.
That went into the red.
Yeah,
Oh,
I got it though. It didn't peak here, so we're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, but it's still ringing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Record run.
here we go.
Yep.
Also, I found out very early in my career that ribbon mics are great on brass instruments. They have a very natural sound on trumpets, trombones, French horns, and so on. I mean, don't get me wrong, I use condenser mics a lot on the brass, but a 44 or any ribbon type microphone will give a tremendously warm sound. It's particularly good for a solo where you want the brass instrument to stand out with a lot of what I would call sonic personality, a ribbon mic is the best choice.
Nice. How do you see ribbons in digital recording? Do you think there's a... What do you think of the fit?
Well, I don't often comment about it. I think that's the topic of digital versus analog is so overdone.
Yeah, but I think what John means, you know, is that Royer came into prominence just at the break of the digital time, you know, so that sort of made recordings sound a little warmer, rounder than the condenser, so it sort of took off some of the harshness of the digital, and that probably made sense for Royer at that time, you know.
It's one of the reasons that we took off the way we did at that time.
Right.
Okay. Here's a good example for you folks that are interested in ribbon mic history and music recording. At the time the digital recording became very popular, I was experimenting with ribbon mics in the sound field because they do have a bit of a softer, warmer sound than a condenser mic. Now don't get me wrong, I love condenser mics, but I also love ribbon mics very much. And if you have a sound field that you want to record and you want it to sound very warm in the final mix, record it with a ribbon. It's a great choice.
Cool. Do you want to say anything about that analog digital thing because it is so overblown?
No, I'd rather not.
No,
That's
okay.
been so overworked. It's
But maybe you could stress the musical aspect, you know, that music dictates.
Yeah, here's a thing, or one way that I look at this whole thing, and let's say digital versus analog. How do you really look at that subject? For me, digital can sound absolutely accurate, but a little bit harsh. Analog recording can sound just as accurate, but the harshness is gone. And this is kind of like the difference between a ribbon mic and a condenser mic. And I would say a bit of experimentation would be in your future, and you can learn to listen to a sound source and tell immediately what kind of mic will work the best for it, and it will frequently be a ribbon mic.
Thanks.
Yeah.
How do you, when you get to mix, when it's time to mix, what difference does using ribbons at that time make to you? I mean, you basically covered that when you talked about don't
Well,
stop till you get enough.
here's kind of the way I look at it. I think, let's say we're in the mix mode. I actually start mixing when I begin the recording process, and I try to listen to a sound source and either envision it as it will sound in the final mix, or why don't you just go for it, I will say to myself. I'm also a big believer in instincts, and I trust my own instincts. I have learned that trust your own instincts. Don't overthink a music recording. It's always, that approach will always get you in trouble. And there's something called the passion of music and the passion of the moment, and that's where your instincts really will help you the most. And learn to trust your instincts and go with that little voice on your shoulder that whispers in your ear, that sounds like crap, or boy, doesn't that sound great. Listen to that little voice. He's usually right.
Even if it's technically incorrect or seems off the beaten path, like The time you had that fellow play the trumpet into the corner.
Yeah, I've done some recordings, for instance, where I've taken an approach that would seem to be absolutely off the wall and not going to work. And however, my instincts would tell me, oh, this is going to be great. And my instincts are almost always right. I'm thinking in particular of one Count Basie recording I did in the 50s, maybe it was the 60s, and where there was a absolutely fantastic trombone solo. And I thought to myself, boy, what would that sound like if it was off mic? And it was this was a rhythm piece, a kind of blues. It's actually in an album on the Basie band called Nothing But the Blues, Joe Williams and Count Basie. And the second verse, I had the trombone soloist tippy-toe over in the corner of the studio and play his trombone solo into the corner of the studio, away from all the microphones. And interesting thing happened. One of the owners of the studio, it was 2 in the morning and we were doing this Basie session. One of the owners of the studio came by to see how it was going, and I don't know what he was doing up at 2 in the morning, but he came probably checking up on me is what he was doing. And anyway, he came by and I was just in the process of asking the trombone player to step over in the corner and play a solo into the corner away from all the mics, and this guy, the owner of the studio, just went off on me. He said, Bruce, you can't do that. Now, anytime someone will tell me you can't do that, that's when I do that. I don't believe in that kind of thinking. So he said, you can't do that. They won't even pay for the session. If this backfires, you're fired. You're out of here. And so we did the thing. Check it out. It's on that album, and I think you'll enjoy hearing it. And we did it, and everybody loved my courageous sonic concept of the trombone solo being played away from all the mics into the corner of the room. Worked great.
Can we stop just a second there? That was wonderful. What I'd love to do is just get your hands doing those things so you have a cutaway. Mm-hmm. It's a relatively long cut, so if you want something else to look at, all you do is just do you were saying doing this with your hands. I'm just going to shoot your hands.
I know what you're talking.
You know what I'm talking about. Okay, and they're up around your pockets.
Right here.
Right, man, I'm doing it.
So if you have the guy move over into the corner of the studio and then play his trombone solo into the corner of the studio away from all the microphones. Something like that.
Yeah, and do one more where you go in. I think you said, and someone tells me not to do something.
Oh, right, right. And there's always the case where someone will tell me, you can't do that. Boy, then I'm going to do it. You know I will. I'm going to sneeze.
Ooh,
Hold back.
get
hold
this
back.
one.
Yeah. I'm running red.
Oh, Brack.
Yeah, Obama. Okay.
Perfect.
You ready?
Yeah.
We're back. I'm sorry, I just thought it would be a fun little cover for you.
Great
That's
idea,
great,
Mark.
thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, before we detour from this,
I'm glad you came over, Mark.
It's been sweet for me too. Thanks.
Yeah.
Piano's been fun.
Yeah, wasn't that fun? Isn't that beautiful?
It is wonderful, man.
God.
You too.
that's a good song too.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I like
One
that.
day.
Did you write that?
Yeah.
Can't afford
course.
anybody else.
Yeah, Mark works real cheap for himself.
Funny, I do
Don't we
too.
all?
Yeah. Hey, before we get off that that subject, do you want to talk about any other times when you went with your instincts when it seemed a little odd and it worked out for you?
He's always done that, you know.
I know.
Yeah.
That's a lifetime.
Yeah.
Anything with Michael or anything?
I love that
That's
sand
fine.
story where you put the sand on the box and all that. I don't know if that has anything to do with miking, but you know,
Oh, it doesn't have to have anything to do with
the,
miking.
when he's dancing and his feet are making that noise.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Oh, he's gonna sneeze again. God bless you and all the angels too. All right.
Both,
Yeah.
what? Oh, you holy mackerel.
But has it? Oh,
I see the meter needles flying
Oh,
out
yeah,
of
yeah,
my
yeah.
camera.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that.
but has there been any instance at all where you've used ribbon on voice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I gotta sneeze again.
Yep.
Bless you.
But here's something that's kind of interesting. When you use a ribbon mic on a voice, okay, and use it quite close, proximity effect. Proximity effect is what happens when
Let's
this
sort of
proximity
take a
effect
break
right
or take a break or something, just to sort of.
gee,
Want to take a quick break for a minute?
no,
No.
You think? Okay.
let's keep going.
Yeah.
Could you use some
What-
water?
I got some.
Yeah, some. Okay.
No.
Okay.
Okay. Do I look a little foggy?
No, no. The
water in the eyes
voice
there.
changed a little bit, So.
Well, that might help.
All right, I'm cutting for just a second.
Okay.
Settled in there.
Okay.
All right, buddy.
What was I talking about?
Ribbons on
Recording
voice.
music on voice, yeah, sorry.
Ribbons
No,
on a
the
vocal.
microphone.
Any examples of ribbon on a vocal, or you were talking about proximity effect?
Yeah. One of the real advantages of using a ribbon mic on any sound source is that it has a great deal of proximity effect. Proximity effect is what happens when the sound source is moved closer to the mic and the low frequencies are enhanced or accentuated a bit, and it can give a wonderful sound to a vocal. And early in my work with Michael and a couple of, I can't think offhand of what, I have to think of a specific piece of music. But anyways, I've used a ribbon mic on Michael Jackson's vocals to great advantage because it enhances the low frequency response. You know which song I think it was?
What?
The ballad. She's Out of My Life.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Written by Tom, yeah. Check out this Michael Jackson song, She's Out of My Life. And I used a ribbon mic on his lead vocal. And the resultant sound field is just spectacular.
What microphone did you use?
44.
44.
Yeah, because that was the only one available at that time.
No, I had my Royers at that time, but I love
yeah,
the
okay.
sound of the 44. I love the sound of the Royers too, but they're different. They're a little bit different.
Boy, I didn't know that was a ribbon. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, yeah, it ain't bad.
No. I mean, on that, yeah, that track was beautiful.
Yeah. You know what we used to call that song?
What?
She Left With My Wife. Another title for that working title was She Left With My Knife.
Or She's Out With My Wife.
Yeah, yes, that we used that one. Yeah.
She's out with my wife.
She's out with my wife. Can't take us guys anywhere.
No. Bruce, you care about your microphones more than anybody I know.
Oh boy.
And today you've got these $80 or $100 condenser, coming in from China and stuff, and a lot of younger engineers are working with so mics. But would you speak to the quality of microphones and just your relationship with microphones and how you take care of them?
Boy, great question. One thing that I've always been very passionate about and I believe in very, very much is the quality of the microphones, of my microphones that I use. I'm very fussy about caring for my mics. I have 20 anvil cases, heavy-duty anvil cases that I use to transport my microphones from project to project, and they're all carefully wrapped. They're in little bags in there, and they're my RCA 44s are exactly in the condition that they were when I bought them in the 50s. My RCA 44 BXs I bought in 1952, 53 something, and that mic cost at that time $390, which was quite a bit of. No, I'm thinking about a different mic.
You think about your 87? Oh, your 47.
47. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't use that.
No. But
That's what
but
editors are
would
for.
you say, Bruce, that say if you would give people a recommendation that say put your monies into good microphones, pre's, and a basic recording system, and then wait with the console or whatever?
Yeah. Since the microphone is probably the first mic you're going to use in recording your sound sources, I would say, as an investment, invest in really good microphones, really high quality mics. There are many mics on the market today that are not that great. Don't fall for that. Save up your money and buy really great microphones. Take good care of them. Don't loan them to anyone, and they will then take care of you.
Boy, that's such great advice.
Yeah.
You know, maybe when this thing is over later, could we pull out one or two of your mics and just have you show, look at the condition this thing is
We
in?
should do that now.
That would be a
kinda
great quote for an ad as well, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But ads or not, this is great information for you.
Where's Ramses?
I think he's right out there.
Yeah, have him get out the,
The Royers?
now here's a incredible mic. I bought this mic new in 1953. It's a Neumann U47 tube microphone. And this will give you a little idea of how I care for my microphones. That looks as good as the day I got it. And it sounds as good as the day I got it. I love this mic. And if you listen to that, some of the work I did with Basie's band, Ellington's band, Woody Herman, Stan Kenton, and so on, all the vocals on those were done with this microphone. This is a U47 nickel top, long body condenser microphone, and it is, I bought it new. No one else has ever used it. I've never loaned it out or rented it or whatever. I'm the only one that's used this mic. Use this on, for instance, if you want to listen to a good example of what this mic sounds like on a vocal, listen to Michael Jackson's Earth Song. This is the mic that I used to record that vocal. Earth Song. The character of it. And I had Michael singing very close to the mic with no windscreen, just as close as he could get. And you may hear a couple of pops even that get through. But I would rather have the emotion of that close mic technique than worry about pops. People don't buy records because they're perfect technically. People buy recordings because the music moves them. I hear my stomach.
Yeah, there's a low rumble here.
Pizza's on the way, big.
It's here.
Whoa,
It's here.
that's beautiful.
That was really, really nice.
That's beautiful.
It's too bad I wasn't recording. You want
No, you're supposed to say, is it the red light that has to go?
Yeah, right.
Coach,
Is
you
that
got 'em all.
gorgeous? Or?
That is-
that's
that was
gorgeous.
really a sweet sequence.
you
too.
roll it.
Yeah,
Roll it.
okay.
Just,
I will be right on the mic. Is that what you want me to do?
yeah, on the
Okay.
mic. And I'm going to point to a couple things.
Okay.
Here's the front, the badge on this, and you notice this one says Neumann. This is this indicates that it's a very early Neumann microphone. Later on, these mics were sold in America under the Telefunken badge, and where this little badge was Telefunken. those are great mics. They're identical. They're the same. The only thing is about these microphones, I think, is that there is a bit of variation between individual mics. And that's something. You gotta have great ears to be able to tell which of these mics is really the best.
And don't you think that was basically because it was handmade at that time?
Yeah.
The machinery is better today? Or?
Good point.
Why don't we start that just a little bit at the beginning so we get that whole thought in there, what he was just saying.
What did he say?
Oh, about
Handmade.
Handmade. No, okay. I'm going to start on the mic and I'll come up to you. Go ahead.
Okay.
We're rolling?
Here's the deal about this mic. This mic was handmade in Germany not long after the end of the Second World War. And it probably, actually it's signed inside by George Neumann. And these microphones, if they're the older ones, can sound absolutely phenomenal. Just fantastic. But there was a bit of variation between units. But this one sounds ridiculous.
Cool.
Let me know when you're rolling.
We're rolling.
Okay. Here's something that's kind of interesting about this microphone. This almost identical microphone, almost I said, was released as a U47. It was also released as a U48. The difference being this mic has two patterns. It has cardioid, and you switch this little thing, and it's Omni. The U48 was cardioid and bidirectional. The reason that the bidirectional feature was important, that was to do Bloomline pair miking, you absolutely must have a bidirectional mic. Now, this mic was also made later as an M150 or an M50, let's say, which was an only Omni microphone. And the thing that makes those mics unusual is that the Omni microphone, and especially these gorgeous Neumann mics, was incredible to use for classical orchestra recording. And you use 3 of them in a spaced array to get the Bloomline, or the decatry system, for instance. Decatry being the preferred technique for classical recording, orchestral recording, particularly orchestral.
Maybe you should say something about why, because the large diaphragms seems to zoom in
Yep,
when you
short
move
check.
into the high
Do whatever you
frequencies,
gotta do. Thank you,
opposed to
man.
the small diagram. That seems to be more neutral to all frequencies in a sense.
I may not get that right. No,
It's all right.
Okay,
It's
that will-
okay.
Yeah, thanks.
We should probably
Nice try.
swap out
Nice
tapes.
try.
I don't know about you, but
I'm at 33 minutes. I cut a couple times just to...
okay. I'm at
Oh, you're
56.
at 56, yeah.
I must have had some other
And
stuff
I don't
on
remember what I
before.
had on here. It may not be a full hour, but I'm pretty good shape. I'll
Okay, good.
take a look. Is that all right with you?
And you got
I can-
card
I
in
can do another
as
tape.
well, or no? You have no card in the mirror.
No, I don't have any card in right now. We're just doing on tape this one. HD.
Okay, yeah, just keep an eye on us so we don't miss anything. But I think we're doing really good here.
Okay, all right.
Bruce, that's wonderful pulling that mic out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, isn't that beautiful?
Oh, yeah.
God, yeah.
But you know what we should do, if that works, I don't remember which case, but we ought to get out the M149s.
Do you think Ramses knows, or
I don't know.
Look at this guy.
we could be up?
We should get out the M149s,
Yeah, I'll-
but this is really
Let's see.
we've
lighting.
been
Sorry,
talking
bud.
about ribbon mics. I think we've talked, Tron, forget it. We've
Well,
talked
forget it?
enough about
Okay,
condensers.
okay.
What happened?
No,
Nothing.
nothing.
You know, Bruce, it's some of the other questions I have nothing to do with ribbons. And,
Yeah.
and we can go any place you'd like to go. If you like pulling out an M50 or anything, go for it.
Can we go to Silver Springs?
Oh, that'd be good.
But
We should not hang out too long together.
your point-
We don't want anything done.
I'm going to be
Way
asking a
too much
couple
fun.
things for younger engineers now, getting into the game.
Well, you know,
And-
we should talk about this guy.
Martin,
What are you doing?
We're doing a video.
Oh, you can
Yes,
talk about
okay, I got that. 3 cameras kind of a
Yeah,
game.
yeah. Close the door. Martin, sit down. Shut up.
it's an underwear
Let's
session for
roll it. I got a couple of
Victoria's Secret.
But for what?
Huh?
Victoria's
For